Welcome back to Truth Be Told. My name is Max, which some of you know, but not all of you.
Yep.
And Dwight is here with me as well. For you audio listeners, we appreciate and we are thankful that you guys are here with us. And today we're talking about a few different things. Some people in the Bible that inspire and perplex us, and because there's so many that, and everybody relates to somebody a little bit differently. So, the one person I had for inspiring that comes to mind. Well, number one, Jesus,
Right.
because there's so many wonderful things that come from him. But I think one of the people that is inspiring and challenging, you could say perplexing at the same time for me, is when Jesus is talking to, I can't remember if it's a whole bunch of people or not, but then the centurion comes up to him, and a Roman centurion.
Yep.
And he, I believe he has a servant or a son, I can't remember the specifics, that is ill or in need. And Jesus says, "Oh, should I come and heal him?" And the centurion says, there's no need for that. I can see that you're a man in authority in the same way I'm a man in authority. People do come and go and say what I do. And he said, just say the word. And Jesus responds with, "I've never seen such great faith in," and it's true, because he could see things that Jesus had done, but he had no doubt, and he just believed that by him saying the word, it would be done, and because he had the authority to do that. For him to see that authority and just believe it, to me, is number one, inspiring. I want to be able to do that at that level.
Mm.
But at the same time, it's perplexing, it's challenging, because how many little things in my life do I just not believe that he can take care of in my life day to day, as a rule of thumb? And so that's probably one. It's only one, but it's one character and one example of a challenge for us all to think about. And how can I learn to trust and grow in my own faith, but also my belief in what he can actually do in my life. If I say I believe it, do I actually do my actions?
So, yeah, Max, I want to just back up a little bit.
Mm.
And first, I want to say is that, as far as I remember, there are only two instances in all of the Gospels where Jesus um, commends people for their faith.
Yes.
And none of those are the disciples.
No. They're always, well, the Roman.
Yeah.
And I can't
There was a Gentile, another Gentile, a lady that came to him, and Jesus commends her for her faith.
Yeah.
And the disciples often talk and say, he's going, "Yeah, you guys got dinky faith here."
Yeah.
And but this centurion, he believes. He said, "No, you don't need to come.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need the evidence of that. All you have to do is speak and say so." And one of our purposes in uh, in these questions today is to challenge us when we're reading the scriptures, to read between the lines, and to remember that these are actual people with actual lives. And wherever you go, you're going in that these are people that are living their life just like you and I are living our lives. And Scripture only records a small segment.
Yeah.
So in this case, if we stop and we begin to look back and think about it, and here's some of the questions when I'm reading that I ask myself: how did the centurion hear about Jesus, or did he witness Jesus somewhere else? Did he see Jesus heal somebody else? And he go, yeah, he could do that for me. And so there are questions that you ask as you're reading through that, and you begin to look behind the scenes and think about that whole scene that was there when Jesus says, to him um, and to this woman at another time
Mm.
about their great faith. I wonder what the disciples looked like,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, kind of what are we?
Mm-hmm.
Chopped liver? And
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Because
because he's not commending them. He never commends them for great faith, but he always challenges them. And that's where you come into this, Max, where that you said that this challenges you.
mm-hmm.
And faith is really living out what we say that we believe. What do I
Mm-hmm.
believe about God? What do I believe about prayer? What do I believe about miracles?
Mm-hmm.
What do I believe? And it's actually faith is,
In action.
yeah, the boots.
Mm-hmm.
That's that boots that we put on, and that moves in that direction. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the questions I want to ask you, um, I've asked our men's life group on Thursday night, and this question is, what are some of the words, or what words of Jesus have impacted you maybe more than any other, or that started this journey for you? When you read that, you go, yeah, I should live like that, or I should think like that.
Mm. I think there's so many, and I think there's some words of Jesus and also some words of James, Jesus' half brother, and I think they're powerful because James would have been encountering this firsthand, and that
Yeah.
the realization I wanted to come
Just
to.
yeah, just for a second, I want you to come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
But what many people don't realize about James, the half brother of Jesus, who writes the
Mm-hmm.
book of James, and often we think that that's either James the Less or James, the brother of John, but James, the brother of John, was beheaded shortly after Jesus ascended into heaven. So
Mm-hmm.
his, and by the way, it perplexes me. You have the inner circle of Jesus, Peter, James, and John, and Jesus pours his life into them, knowing that James is not really going to live a long time afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
which tells me God's importance of timing and people is a lot different than ours. But that perplexing part, when you're going through that, is James, the half brother of Jesus. He doesn't believe
Mm-hmm.
until after the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ. He's not a follower of Jesus till then. So,
Yeah, well, and that so because of that, that's only become more evident and real in the way that I view it now recently. But love one another has been one that has probably been the most encouraging, challenging in the way that I think about everything. Because love one another as I have loved you. So
wow.
that standard is so high.
Yeah.
It's a it's it's almost unattainable. And in but at the same time it changes how we view the biggest thing is it changes how we view our people around us,
Mm-hmm.
our enemies,
Mm-hmm.
because that is ultimately the most difficult. But if he did it for us, that is what we're called to, because that can end, or it can put a halt to so many things in the way that this world works,
Yeah.
because it's confusing and it does not make sense. How could you love somebody in ways that they do things against you? I think beyond that, though, in the book of James, because thinking about that,
Mm.
because James would have grown up with Jesus.
Mm.
I didn't think about this until recently, but because he would have grown up and he didn't believe till later and then wrote that, he would have observed these things firsthand, not by just his words, but by the way that he would have lived through that. And so I think because a lot of James's teaching is very not rigid, but it's very like one thing to the next of like faith and action in how we live.
Yeah.
It's very clear, and it's not like Um, I don't know. It's just very, very one after another. And in
Ju-
faith, a big theme is faith without works is dead. If you're not doing it, if you're not living it out. So that to me has been encouraging and challenging all at the same time. It has been a lot of other people that I've discussed this with as well for them, but it's been probably, especially James 1, verse 2, 1 and 2. It
mm,
has been probably the most challenging and encouraging through my last 10 years
mm.
because it's through trials and challenges. It's like we're called to consider it joy, and it's hard to consider it joy in the midst of those things because it's hard to see, but those are evidence of Jesus inside of us if we live this. And
Yeah.
so that's been the challenge, but
So,
also encouragement because it's like
um,
it's a
when
cultivation of
when you're
things.
reading James, like what he says at times almost borders on legalism, right?
Yes.
Because, but he's going this, if you say it,
Do it.
if you say it, do it. If I have, he said, I'll show you my faith
Yeah.
by my works. And that putting the work boots on and saying, okay, yeah, I believe.
Hmm.
I believe that Jesus is who he says he is. And I believe that there should be transformation in my life. And I believe that I should love my neighbor as myself. And I believe, and he's saying, okay, now I'm going to put the boots on. And I'm
Yeah.
going to put my works boots on and I'm going to show you how we live this on a daily life rather than just word it.
Exactly. And I think that comes from him observing Jesus
Oh,
growing up.
absolutely.
And I think that he probably heard the words and it probably is like, it's like when you hear things from your brother or sibling, it's like,
Yeah.
"Ah,"
Yeah,
but like you don't take him seriously because there's a different dynamic. But when you observe that and then you experience things later in your life and see the fruit of those actions.
as Jesus was so countercultural in so many ways. And you recall his disciple or his brothers, sisters coming to him and kind of want to hauling him away. And so people have said, your mom, your brothers and sisters in here. And he looks around
Hmm.
at the disciples and he said, these are
Hmm.
my brothers and sisters. And that was so countercultural in that day and age of tight-knit family, right?
Yeah.
I think, Max, we'll end this one for today. I think and we're going to pick it up in our next session. I have a couple more questions I want to ask
Hmm.
Max, and I want to talk about in this. And I want to share with what words of Jesus also have really impacted me. So, thanks for joining us on this journey today, and we'll meet you in the next one on Truth Be Told.